As a child, I was very imaginative. When I had time on my own, I always found myself in my bedroom pretending to either play school. I'd line up my stuffed animals all over the place and teach them. I think because of that, initially as a child, I always imagined myself as a teacher. And I also, again, imagination, a big deal. I'd ride my bike around and often pretend like I was a bus driver. So I'd stop and let the kids on. And so imagination for sure. And I think in those different roles, it was about teaching and relating, building relationships. And so I can see where that, in a way, has gotten me where I am now. And then around the age of 13, I had been at a church camp and felt some sort of call into some kind of ministry. I had an uncle at the time who was a teacher, missionary. So I thought, well, I want to be a teacher. And if God's calling me to ministry, then I probably should be a missionary teacher. And also, I'm a little on the dramatic side. So I thought, well, if I'm getting called into ministry, I'm going all out, which means you have to be a missionary, right? Like you have to sacrifice everything. So that's kind of where that started. And then throughout high school, it kind of evolved a little bit. It was interesting. It was actually on a mission trip that I was loving that I started to feel like, maybe being a missionary isn't the thing for me. And that's actually when I started thinking about being an actual pastor. So kind of a weird way that worked. But that was later in high school where the thought kind of came into my mind, well, maybe I don't need to do this teacher thing. Maybe I am more drawn to some sort of pastoral ministry. I think actually by the time I got to college, I thought there's no way I could be a real pastor. So maybe I'll be some kind of mini pastor, if that makes sense, not a lead pastor. So I did start out with Christian Ministries. And to be really honest, I didn't enjoy my Bible classes at all. And so I decided to change my major. And I loved this family science class that I took. And so I thought, well, I've grown up with all these people in ministry. I've grown up in the church. Everybody in my family is a pastor. And so I thought I can still do ministry, but maybe I can get some additional education in this other area. So I changed my major to family science and loved it. I just loved it. So at that point, I kind of imagined myself as some sort of family pastor, getting that education and actually followed that up going to grad school to get a degree in pastoral counseling. Everything that I learned was so interesting and has been so helpful to me throughout my life. But as I was starting to finish up that degree, I thought, there's no way that I could sit in a room and counsel people all day. And something else I discovered was that at the time, most people who were considered family pastors, which was something that was growing at that time and has sort of faded away, those were basically children's pastors that worked with the family. And yeah, that was never gonna be my thing. So at that point, I had to shift again and try to figure out what that was gonna look like in my life moving forward. In college, I was really involved I was a resident assistant, I was an RA, and so I loved that. That was one of my favorite things that I did as a college student. And so I loved being able to build those relationships with the girls on my floor and really learn from the people that were leading me. And so that was really, really huge for me. When I went to grad school, when I went to seminary, I went there thinking, I am just going to go here and get an education. I'm not going to get involved. Like, this is just about education. I already have enough friends. Well, the Lord had some other plans for me, as often happens. And by the second year, I was the social director for the whole school. And again, continued to grow into that leadership of developing teams and planning activities and trying to help people feel a part of a community and not just live in isolation. In grad school, I got offered at the church I was attending to be their children's director, which, as I mentioned before, I knew that wasn't my thing, but in grad school, you need money, and so someone offers you a job, and you go, okay. And it was all right. Actually, they offered me to stay on when I graduated, and I thought, no, I know this isn't my thing. So I ended up moving from there into a youth pastor position, and really, really enjoyed that. It was really a lot of learning and a good experience for me and a lot of growth. And then following that, had come to understand that there was a position open at Anderson University for a resident director, which was something that I always thought would be really fun, but never really imagined that that would be something that would happen in my life. But it did, and ended up that being one of the, probably one of the sweet spots of my life, where I'll always look back and go, that was it. Like, that was one of the most meaningful things that I've been a part of. And I think what it was about that was so meaningful was just the relationships and being able to really have the one-on-one interaction with college students where they are, where they're making these decisions about their lives, and being able to walk alongside them in that. I also just love the team development, working with an RA staff, and team dynamics are just so interesting to me, to see how people come together or don't come together, how they manage or don't manage conflict. And so I came to continue to understand that that was an area of both passion and giftedness for me. At that point, I started to get this kind of itch to explore church ministry again, that being a passion of mine to grow in my ability to preach and to teach. And so I was given that opportunity as well. And again, a lot of growth, but sort of felt like, oh, I really love the college setting. And I knew that something was missing. It just wasn't quite clicking for me to be back working in the church. And so another opportunity opened up at AU to be the assistant dean for residence life. And in that role, I feel like I really continued to develop those team building skills, the administrative skills, really coming to understand the larger aspect of working at an institution and kind of understanding all the dynamics of that. And so grew in a lot of ways there. And then again, started to get another itch in another direction, where I was missing some of the relational pieces that can kind of go away when you're in such an administrative role. There was a lot of that, but I knew that there was something lacking. I was sort of too many steps away from actually being with college students. And also missing the opportunity to just spend all my time talking about Jesus, if that makes sense. I knew that that was something that I wanted to be able to preach and teach more. Campus pastor position came available, and that's where I'm at now. So I feel like I've been all over the board, and yet everything that I've done has led really well into the next step. So, I mean, I went and got this counseling degree, which technically you might say that hasn't been my exact career path, but that degree has helped me to get every job that I've had since then. And I've utilized those skills in every single job, even though maybe it doesn't seem like a direct sort of path. And just all the places that I've been, they were never things that I imagined as a child at all. I mean, if someone would have told me some of these positions and things that I've been a part of, I would have said, yeah, there's no way, that's not going to happen. And yet, I mean, because some of these things I didn't even know they were things when I was a kid. And so you just never know what can happen. And so as much as I like to look towards the future, finally, I think I've learned, don't try to figure out what's next, because you're probably not going to be able to figure it out a lot of times. So now I'm finally growing up maybe and realizing that I just need to be faithful step by step by step, and that things will somehow come together in really beautiful ways that you never could have dreamed or imagined.